do you think that that is a tool that can help people navigate that space of feeling like massively unhappy and disconnected?
There's probably a bunch of different components, but it's definitely a tool. I know it's for me, like, listen, I'm a survivor just like you, Michael, of trauma, right? I have days where I have, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I don't feel well, and something could trigger something that has affected something from a trauma thing because that neuro pathway is still there, right? But real-time resilience skills is a tool, and it could definitely help. If you have as many tools as you possibly can in your tool chest to help keep you sane and not spiral down the rabbit hole, like I like to use the term staying north of neutral, right? When you look at a pie chart and you look at a wheel of life and each piece of pie is a part of your life, such as relationships, career, whatever it is, spirituality, and for some reason at your job, something bad happens and you go from a 7 down to a 3, what do? You gotta dig into your tools, and one of those tools is real-time resilience skills to question the thoughts that you're having, because you may be thinking, "Oh, my boss is an asshole." Right? He
It
just
might
did.
be.
Yeah, right, it may be, but he just did this to me, but then instead you gotta think, "Well, maybe this person's having a bad day, like, why did this happen? X, Y, and Z." Get fact-based data, evidence for, evidence against. It's like you're taking your brain to court, right? And you have to use, like, real-time resilience skills to say, "What's really happening here?" You
Yeah,
know?
I love that, Dan. So I say this to myself all the time. I do not trust my brain. Like when when you
Yeah,
understand neuroscience, when you
yeah,
understand the impact of trauma and being in a cortisol state and what it's like to grow up in that, and then to like navigate dissociation and then recognize behavioral patterns, and then you get into these things that are triggers and emotional scars. It's like your brain is not trustworthy, right? And this was my experience, until I understood the research and the science and the
yes.
practical functions of the brain. Because
Ah,
I realized something really important, and I'm going to lead somewhere, and I want to know your thoughts on this. For a long time, I felt like every time I listen to my brain, I get in trouble, right? But every
yeah.
time I listen to my gut, I'm right. And I was thinking, I was coaching one of my clients recently. I said, how many times have you had this moment where you meet someone or you do something or you're in an interaction, you're like, that doesn't feel right. And then a month, 6 weeks, 5 days later, it doesn't matter. You go, damn it, I should have trusted my gut.
Yeah,
Do I,
yeah.
am I on the right path there?
Oh, yeah, you have an intuitive thinking system, which is your gut feeling, and, when you're making, like, some serious there's a difference between making a short-term decision when you're going to the store and you gotta purchase something off the shelf, compare with, like, a decision that's really a hardcore decision that you have to make that may impact your life. It's always the good if you could sit on it and really kinda think about the decision and not rush into the decision, right? Sometimes those things come quickly. It's your gut feeling. Like, for instance, just as an example, you probably had this experience. You look at the weather report, they say it's going to rain. You look in the mirror, you're talking to yourself, brushing your teeth, say, I should take my umbrella today, right? And that's your gut telling you. And then your other voice comes into your head, which is metacognition, because you're talking to yourself, says, nah, you don't need the umbrella. That's your ego. What happens? You go outside, you don't bring the umbrella, and you get rained on. You're like, I should have brought the umbrella. Right? So it's so true. It's like, depends on what kind of decision you're making, but I always try to listen to that first voice. Whenever I question
Mm.
myself from when I say, nah, I'm like, whoa, 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 what's that nah? That's when I got to say, practice the pause, Dan. Practice the pause. You know?
Yeah, that's so great. When you, I want to go back a little bit.
Mhm.
When you're in this pivot to start stepping into the path that you're on now, I'd love for you to kind of paint a little bit more of a picture that has led you down this pathway, because obviously you do a lot of really beautiful things around psychology and mindset, but particularly I want to talk about positive psychology. And so
Yeah.
I'm curious, like what led you down this path and how has it impacted your life?
Yeah. So, listen, the journey of learning didn't stop when, I explained the story when I was 22 till I was 26. I did wind up getting a divorce and I have 2 kids and I had to learn from that experience. And then I got in another 10-year relationship, which really helped me become a man, because this person taught me how to not be a people pleaser. Again, I'll remind your audience that I didn't have that father figure, right? Like, there is no playbook that's given to a man, when he is born, right? We're taught how to open up doors, how to do certain things, but we're not taught how to express our feelings. So I still had to learn how to become my true authentic self, how to be more vulnerable, not be a people pleaser, like how to interact with people, especially with someone from the opposite sex. And in that 10-year relationship, I learned how to be vulnerable and accept a strong woman into my life, how and ask and be able to ask for help. I learned how to express my needs and wants. I learned a bunch of things in that relationship. And one of the things that I could take away from, that relationship is I got into yoga and meditation, which was like almost the last piece that I needed to learn. And I'm going into, what the question that you asked me, because, when I was, and that relationship had ended, like I believe that people come in and out of your life for reasons. I believe things happen for a reason. And, when I was 48 years old, uh, I was at a job for 11 years and I got laid off from that job. And I thought to myself, wow, I'm looking back at my life, and and all the things that we discussed in the story that I share. And I said, there's meaning to this. There's something that I should be doing, right? What is my true purpose? Now, I've been very successful in IT, but I'm like, there's something, I have a gift. What is my gift? And that's when I came up with the word Yomenga. Yomenga came into my mind. I was sitting on the couch meditating, and the word Yomenga, which is the word men in between the word yoga. And that's where this journey started, basically, how I got into positive psychology, integrative medicine, and all these things, because I started to create this business, Yomenga. Besides what I have, holistic WellCare advisors, and then I have holistic wellcare.coach. So I have three things that I'm working on. And I decided, I said, I need to create a course, because all these things that I learned that have helped me, if I would have known them between the ages of 21 and 29, I think that, and I'm talking about positive psychology principles such as growth mindset, real-time resilience skills, self-regulation, mind traps, how to become your own CBT therapist, how to understand that your neuroplasticity, how your brain works, your limbic system, prefrontal cortex, all these wonderful things that positive psychology teaches you. I said, I need to like create something that I could help people between the ages of 20 and 29, which are, those people are called Bisonarians. If you didn't know that, I said, because if I create this course, um, these people are going to have a better head start than I did, because, I think when you turn 30, I think that's when those are your most important decision-making years. I think that's when you're deciding, do I want to get married? Do I want to have children? Where do I want to live? What career do I really want to get into? And I think if I would have had some of these skills back then, I probably would have made much different decisions. So that was really the main reason. And also, well, that was, the Get Real Deal and Heal course that I created, that was part of Yomenga. But since that time, since 2018, when COVID hit, I had to pivot, and Yomenga's kind of gone in a different direction. And now, this holistic WellCare advisors is what I do also as well, has kind of gone in a different direction, but they all kind of tie back to each other. The thing that, with the Yomenga thing, I just felt that, back in 2018, when things were coming out, like Matt Lauer and a bunch of other people were getting in trouble for a lot of the things that they were doing, I said, I didn't like the word toxic masculinity. I don't mind the word masculinity, but I'm kind of offended by the word toxic, because I don't consider myself a toxic person. What I consider myself is an uneducated man. So when I refer to, anything that has to do with teaching men how to become more spiritual, emotional, physically better for themselves, I like to call it uneducated masculinity. So that's kind of how that started as well.
We'll be right back to today's show, but first I need to ask you a question. Are you feeling stuck? Are you feeling like you don't have the support to go to the next level in your healing journey? Are you feeling like you wish you had a little bit more support from not only myself, but the Unbroken Nation? Well, my friend, I want to invite you to come and join our live weekly coaching sessions in Think Unbroken. All you have to do is go to Keys, Keys, keys.thinkunbroken.com to sign up and join us today with 100% money back, no questions asked, guaranteed, and no contract or commitment. Every week for the next year, you can come and be a part of our live coaching sessions each Monday as we dive deep into not only answering your questions, but questions from the Unbroken Nation, and help you take all of the information that you learn in the podcast, in the courses, and other areas of this journey, bring them into your life and use it in a way that is practical, life-changing, and transformative. So my friend, join us at keys.thinkunbroken.com, and we will see you this Monday.
Lay out the path to the shift, because I want to know, even personally, I want to know like what started to transpire where this shift started to actually solidify. Because I think a lot of people, they'll read the books, they'll do the podcast, they'll even get a coach, but the shift won't actually take place. It's just kind of like top of mind. Was it through execution? Was it through proving yourself right? Was it through like what was really happening in your day to day that was building your confidence in the shift in the mindset?
Yeah, for me, it was the execution. I feel like a good chunk of people, and I've been able to talk with quite a few people on kind of a more coach role now, and people will invest in the books, they'll invest in the podcast, they'll invest in courses, and in different mentors. But the part where hesitancy and inaction takes place is when it's actually time to take that next step and execute. I think execution, even done like imperfectly, it's going to teach you so much more about the process and about yourself than any perfect action or inaction is ever going to do. Because for me, I was willing to, there's this really good quote. It's by a guy named Eddie Pinheiro. And he says, I was willing to make failure an old friend and walked hand in hand and side by side with them. And that's really when I realized, even when I failed or even when things didn't go right, that I could come back from it, but also learn from it and make it better the second time around. I think that was when I truly started realizing there's no hole that I can't get out of. There's no obstacle that's in my way that either through my network or me personally, I don't have the skills to overcome, or I can acquire those skills to overcome. And so for me, like before, when I was working like as an accountant, like I went to school, did like all of that. And I didn't pick up like a book or like really listen to podcasts besides like comedy podcasts or like, just casual, like entertaining podcasts. And then when I made that decision in May to really invest in myself, I was like, okay, well, he recommended a few different books. I started reading, and just being able to act on those in congruence with like my journey that I was reading in these books and then acting on them made all the difference.
Yeah. And action is the cure all, and I think about that every single day. It's you look at what it really requires is, and I think everybody at some extent kind of gets caught up in the learning phase of life where you're just consuming, but ultimately it is action. It's the willingness to take all of these lessons, all of this information that you've learned and you've garnered, and be able to effectively deploy it in real time scenarios. And I think what happens, and this was my experience because I've been an entrepreneur for a very long time, but in the beginning, there was a fear, right? And even this subconscious fear, if I go back, gosh, almost 15 years now, thinking about even the way that I was pricing myself in the world, it was like, I'm scared to ask for what I know I'm worth. And I think that's one of the really difficult hurdles that people have to overcome. And that's realizing that for a long time, and really for the majority of whether it's in school or it's in real life and you're in career, the world kind of tells you, hey, you're worth $46,000 a year. You're worth $80,000 a year. And then you go, well, how do these guys over here make $80 million a year? And it's such about a shift and a willingness to learn and understand your value in the world. When I think about this, and I just got caught up because I was thinking to myself, okay, you and your wife are making the same amount of money, which is very common, right?
Mhm.
You're putting yourself in this position to go and build something on your own. You have a child on the way, you have a mortgage, so you're probably needing to make at least, $7,000 a month, right? Whatever
Yeah.
that number
Yeah.
is. How in the world do you shift your mindset around money, around driving revenue, and around your worth when all you've experienced is this pocket over here?
Yeah. I mean, you're exactly right. Like we were making the same amount of money and we were making a very comfortable like living. We were able to take our, 2-week vacation every year and go do some really cool things. Really, my biggest mindset shift, like when it came to money was like, okay, well, I can either continue to make this comfortable amount of money and be okay with it, which I mean, a lot of people make that decision. I'm not saying it's the wrong decision, but I knew it was the wrong decision for me personally. And I started realizing, at the time, I think I was making like 70,000 and, or 65, somewhere in that area. And almost exactly what you said, like happened. It's just like, okay, like here I am building this business, making 65,000 as an accountant. And pretty soon, like my business was kind of matching what I was making. And I was like, wait a second, like I went to school for 4+ years. I've been climbing up the ranks as an accountant to get to this spot. And like, I've went through all these raises and all these things. And here I've built this business in, the space of like 5, 6 months. And it's because I was providing so much value to my customers that I was having customers that were sticking with me. I was finding new customers from just referrals. And then like my ethic to just go out and be consistent about finding new customers, kind of on my cold outreach efforts. All those three forces combined, and I was already matching like what I was doing. And so, I looked at it and I was just like, okay, so I can either stay and continue to make this probably for the next couple years until I get that next promotion, which is never guaranteed, or I can go bet on myself and then I can give myself a raise every single day. And ultimately, that's what did it for me, where it's like, well, yeah, I mean, like I said, that mindset shift of wanting to bet on myself, knowing that I could overcome those obstacles, even when I lost half my client base due to seasonality, and then looking at it and being like, well, no, I can come back from this. I can find more clients. I can make a more consistent revenue even through the slow months with these home service based businesses. And really realizing that kind of pushed me to that next level.
Hey, what's up, Unbroken Nation? We'll be right back to today's episode, but I want to take a moment and invite you to Think Unbroken Conference. That's right. Our next conference is happening right around the corner this December with amazing speakers from around the world who are leaders in personal development, trauma education, mindset, and more. All you have to do to register to watch for free, that's right, $0. Come and join us, is go to myunbrokenlife.com, register and sign up. You can get access to the free event. Watch live with us this December. It'll be myself speaking along with amazing human beings like Anthony Trucks, Jamie Bronstein, Leslie Logan, and a special interview that I'm doing with Dr. Gabor Mate that has never before been released. So come and join us, myunbrokenlife.com. All you have to do is put in your email. We'll send you over the registration. You'll be able to come and join us, watch live. And then if you want access to the recordings or more information there for you to keep them forever. But in the meantime, go sign up. Block it off on your calendar. This is going to be a transformational experience that you do not want to miss. Head over to myunbrokenlife.com to register for free. Until next time, be unbroken.
Do you think that is because, now obviously in the framework of men, but I think in people in general, why do you think people are not stating what they want or what they need out of a relationship? Is it fear? Is it, maybe they're scared of the potential of success? Like, what is it that you think is keeping people from being able to have the kind of relationship that they want to have?
So if we talk about the both sexes, I think that's the fear of rejection, or fear of being rejected or turned down. It's like an individual story would be like everybody has gone through, especially men. I mean, you maybe it happened to me. So it was in San Francisco when in my kind of a single times. I would go in a bar, travel quite a bit for my work. So I would always when I traveled, I always make a point of not just staying in the hotel, going out, having a dinner, and maybe having a drink. And then there's one particular evening, I'm in a bar in San Francisco, and I'm nursing my drink, and this lady comes in and sits next to me, and she looks very approachable, kind of wanted to strike up a conversation, and I kind of started that whole self-talk. Should I do it now? Should I do it now? And then I finally get up the courage and asking her, and she says blatantly no. And I was like, whoa. And that kind of totally kind of knocked the wind out of myself. Then shortly after, I like crawled out of that bar, like rejected, and like, what's wrong with me? Was something in my teeth, or all that kind of like horrible self-doubt comes in, flowing in such a huge focus. Is that a lot of that time, I think people are so scared of that rejection or opening themselves up to a vulnerability that they always think of the worst thing. And they always project it on themselves. It's like, there must be something wrong with me. In this case, this lady could be, she was waiting for somebody, or she wasn't really in that mood to talk to anybody. So it's more, I think, one of those focuses, just don't always make it about yourself. It's things, it's what are we always, it's like when you always like tend to compare this with treat yourself as your best friend. So your friend is doing something awesome, and he comes up to you and says, how was I? You would never say to him, if you're a true friend, you were horrible, you should never do that again. You always try to back him up and always say something nice to him. And I think a lot of the time we need to focus on that ourselves. We can't be so hard on ourselves all the time. And I think for men as well, going then to the men specific focus, is that we are very afraid of opening ourselves up to any intimacy, because again, it comes out we are not masculine enough, we are weak, she will look down on me, and I don't want to. So we kind of tend to put up a shield of everything's okay.
How do you step into intimacy while still remaining masculine, for whatever that means for you? And obviously masculinity is going to be different for everybody. Everyone has their own definition. But how do you, instead of having that feeling like, if I'm intimate, people will look down on me and I won't be strong and I'll be emasculated, how do you do both? How can you be a man in the way that you choose and want to be a man, but also be intimate and have that thing that you're seeking?
I think a couple of things in my mind, at least. So one is, have opinion in a relationship. So if somebody asks you a question, have opinion on that question. But you can say that that's my opinion. We can decide then what if like men tend to do quite a lot is, the woman says, let's go out on a date, let's go somewhere. Where should we go? And you say, and the man will say, wherever you want there, thinking by doing that we're pleasing her, allowing her to choose. But sometimes they want you to be present and make a decision, or have at least opinion of what they should be doing. So I think that's very important. The other thing as well, and it comes as well, knowing what you want out of it. Because if you don't know what you want out of it, then you don't really have opinion on what your relationship should look like. And I think those two things are very important from a masculine perspective, is that knowing what you want, have an opinion on things that people want you to do, and then express those opinions and those wants and needs. Because you can be very masculine and then do everything as you call it, chop the wood and make the money and all that kind of thing. But that's just very small part of being a whole masculine, or I prefer to kind of focus it on as like a high value man, or a maybe not the right word, like a gentleman. That's how I always brought up. And it's not always about opening the door or things like that, but it's still offering. I know women as well now want to be treated equal and all that kind of thing. But I think in everyone wants something to be treated nicely. Like somebody is chivalrous, somebody that does something for you. It doesn't mean that you're being made any less valued, but it's just that people show up. I think it's kind of the main focus.
And I think one of the things also is like you have to hold true to those things for yourself. Like it's everything on the line.
Yes.
Like I really believe that. And I would say the greatest shift in my journey and many people's journey, and I won't put words in your mouth, but I imagine your journey is to not negotiate with yourself about those things.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one thing that I did use, a tool that I used to help me, because I'm such a people pleaser, that I would negotiate. I would try and put those things in negotiation. And so I would think, well, how does this benefit me? Because we always do something that's going to benefit us. So how is it going to benefit me to bend this one time for this person? And I need to pay attention. Did it have the impact that I want? And was it more than was a good move? Essentially, was it a move that I could do for this one time and it'll be fantastic? Most of the time that didn't happen. Most of the time I thought things would benefit me, but I'm paying attention to it. I'm tracking it. I'm not just I'm not just being upset because my boundary had been violated. I made this conscious choice to let my boundary be violated to see if I can get something that I thought I wanted. Oh, that didn't work. Let me fix that boundary, move it right back to where it was because I don't like this. And so being conscious of that, having that experience and paying attention to it has really helped me hold those boundaries like it's everything on the line. You give up if you want to, but make sure you get what you wanted when you gave it up.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really powerful truth. And I have come to find in those moments in which I bend my boundary, which we all do. Like, I'll never sit here and be like, oh, I figured it out one time and that held fast forever. I think that's nonsense because the world doesn't work that way. And what I discovered was in those moments and in those times in which I would bend or I would placate, or even to this day, if I'm like, oh, I really want this thing and I sacrifice part of who I am for it, I'm immediately reminded why the fuck I don't. And I think that's one of the really, really important things that people have to hold on to is like recognizing like just because you think you want it may not actually be the thing that you want. And to effectively bend who you are to get it is dismissive of the experience that you're having and the decision that you've made with yourself. But so much of it, it's a fucking mind game because you're constantly in that ebb and flow and the back and forth of the pressure of the chaos of the existence of all those. And that's why I always remind people, if you can get really clear on your values, really clear about your values, it makes it so much more difficult for you to bend your own boundaries, to allow people to step into your universe and into your life without the permission of having first gone through that, that gate. You want to come into, this is the stupidest thing I've ever said in my life. If you want to come into Michael land, you have to make sure that you are in sync with me and my values, period.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if I could just share something really quick with you about finding people with your values, because I think that it might help really to hone in on some values or things that we can connect with other people. Like really quick, your history, hobbies, and habits. Those are things that will really help you find yourself in the right place to connect with other people. Your history, reflect on your history, where you come from, where you're going, your hobbies, the things that you like to do, things that you won't give up, and your habits, your daily routines or whatever that you do and you want to continue to do that you just won't give up. And all these things, your history, hobbies, and habits should be things that bring you joy that you want to share with other people. It's going to help you make a better connection quicker if you talk about those things as part of who you are.
Hey, Unbroken Nation, we'll be right back to the show, but I wanted to let you know that you can grab a copy of my first book,
Think Unbroken, Understanding and Overcoming Childhood Trauma for free. If you go to book.thinkunbroken.com, you can download the PDF ebook version of the book and get everything that I know about the baseline of healing trauma for free, downloaded to your email right now. Just go to book.thinkunbroken.com to download your copy of Think Unbroken, Understanding and Overcoming Childhood Trauma for a PDF for your phone. Again, that is book.thinkunbroken.com. Thank you so much for listening to Think Unbroken. Please share this episode with someone who could use it and help us move forward in our mission of ending generational trauma in our lifetime. And if you would, please take 5 seconds to pop on iTunes or Spotify, hit that 5-star, leave a review, and you can also reach out to us on social at Michael Unbroken or at Think Unbroken. And of course, you can check out our YouTube channel at Think Unbroken. Thank you for being a part of Unbroken Nation, my friends. And until next time, be unbroken.